I have in my hand a joint report or joint analysis report done by the FBI and the Department of Homeland Security. The reference number on this report is JAR 1620296. So you can look it up online. The New York Times had a short article. It's funny how the New York Times and Washington Post all of a sudden are the two new platforms, well, not new, two platforms that the CIA uses to publish these reports. So this is the report, you can look at it, and it also does say information may be distributed without restriction, which means feel free to spread this propaganda. So I went over it, it's 13 pages, and to me, it doesn't hold water. It basically tells you how you can hack into a system and definitions of methods of hacking. The very first page talks about where this report comes from. The second and third pages blame Russia, but there are no IP addresses, no traces, no kind of no Wireshark done to see the spikes in traffic within the network. There's nothing in this, so don't buy into it. Russia did not hack the election as we've been fed through CNN, Washington Post, New York Times, and a lot of other places. And the person who brought it up was Hillary Clinton in a fundraising or in a speech that she just gave recently after she lost to Donald Trump, saying that Russia, under the direct order from Putin, from Russia, hacked into the election system or election machines. So that's a big accusation. I'm not 100% sure why she's doing it, but I precisely remember back in August of 2016, now it's 2017, August of 2016, she said that cybersecurity attacks should be treated like attacks on our soil. And she also mentioned Russia and China in that very speech in a couple of sentences before, after, I can't remember, you can look it up. So it has been the goal of the establishment, it has been the goal of the government of this country, the United States, to find a way to attack Russia or put sanctions on Russia. So let's take a look at a few factors. Russia is now fighting ISIS in Syria along the side of the Syrian government and also Iran. Well, guess what? The United States has beef with Iran, has had a beef with Iran since 1935. They got rid of the Shah in Iran, and the new democratic elected president Mossadegh said that we're not going to let the United States and England take our oil anymore. Guess what? They got rid of him after a year and installed the Shah's son, and they got rid of him in 1979. They don't seem to be able to make up their mind. And a lot of this was influenced by the CIA. As we know, Henry Kissinger, a predominant force in screwing with elections, with regime change, since I think the late 60s, if I'm not mistaken, since Nixon was president. So nobody hacked into election machines. There was a report in Texas saying that the Department of Homeland Security actually tried to hack the machines, the election machines in Texas. Not sure if it was a drill, if it was a test, or they actually wanted to do it and see what happens, but there was a report on that. Do not remember source, you're more than welcome to look it up. So, having said that, it went from Hillary Clinton's private server in her basement, which was not allowed. Now, we're not going to say illegal, which to me, it was illegal. It was not allowed, it was not permitted by the State Department, for her to use her private server, private email. Not private email, not Colin Powell's private email. We get that. That was an AOL account, if I'm not mistaken. And he used it for personal and also governmental use to a degree. That's a personal account. There's a difference between setting up a whole new server and having government data go through that, not even a third-party ISP where they would be able to hand over your information. So it was set up in such a way that Hillary Clinton, her and her husband, could destroy evidence at any point. So the Freedom of Information Act would not have an effect. Also, another thing to consider, every administration has to hand over their data after 12 years of being in office. After leaving office, after 12 years, they have to give their documents, every document they've had, emails, so on, to the state, to back to the government. And the Freedom of Information Act could take effect and also release those information and those documents. The Clintons are the only family, the first family that never ever allowed that to happen. There's no documents released from the White House. So take it with a grain of salt, and so that's another story about the Clintons and not them being not transparent. So it went from hacking to her private server to DNC hacking, which they kept saying Russia, and there are no evidence that it's Russia. This report does not prove that it was Russia. It is very immature, amateur, and childish report. My report from college was, well, it was worse than this, but this is well laid out, but it doesn't hold any water still. So having said that, it went from Russia getting into Clinton's private server, then to the DNC's private server, then all of a sudden John Podesta, which his emails, it may or may not have been Russia. There are no evidence. They're not releasing concrete evidence on that. To meddling in the election. So they want to make it a national security issue to go to war with Russia. And since there's a war in Syria, a proxy war with Syria, Iran, Russia, Saudi Arabia, Turkey involved, funding either ISIS, Al-Qaeda groups, arming, NATO arming, the CIA arming, FBI arming. The FBI shouldn't even go to any other country to even arm them, let alone having presence there. So the CIA is arming one side, the FBI is arming another side, and it's a mess. It's truly a mess in the Middle East right now, and this report is not helping. Don't understand the reasons why they are accusing Russia of meddling in the election, but I can tell you what they're going to do. They're going to put more sanctions on Russia, which they've done some, and throughout the years, and they want to make sure that Syria falls into the hands of ISIS. There's a pipeline going through Syria. Syria does not owe the IMF, the International Monetary Fund, any money. They have their own money. They dropped the US dollar as a currency for trade, just like Libya did. In the 1980s, they wanted to get rid of Assad's father, and they couldn't, because the region, the countries in the region were against it. There's a lot, I could go on and on, but the main point of this video is for everyone to know that Russia had nothing to do with meddling in our election based on this report. So subscribe, like us on Facebook, and also follow us on Twitter. We need you so we can spread the truth and bring news to you and your family and friends.